Welcome back to KPA Arthouse. I used to think that every painting had to be fast to be good, and luckily I am no longer there. I'm here to tell you about something that I've been discovering and experiencing and why things have changed for me. You'll see that these videos are sped up, and that has so much to do with my anxiety around creating and creation. So, what is my process and why it's changed everything for me? I would say that I had so much anxiety around creating and creation, and I want to share that with you today because understanding it completely changed how I show up in my studio. I used to push through painting so fast to get to the destination. Destination varnish, destination complete. I knew that when I was varnishing, I was done. And now, not so much. I've completely moved around my process and my concept of time. Doing so, like time was something that I had no control of and was really something that I had to learn to temper. In this, I was working against the clock as if things were going to run away from me. In this experience of obtaining a studio and wanting to create in all of my downtime, I was almost driving myself to a place of super consumption, super creating. But where was the heart and soul of it all? And let me tell you, I don't know if anyone else had this experience or you've had this experience, but now I avoid buying art supplies unless I need them or I have a specific use in mind for them. I was racing to get to the store to get everything and consuming so much material that I did not, in fact, have time to use all of them. And it made me overwhelmed with options. Have you ever felt like that before? I did, but I digress. Now, like I said, I am much more slow and intentional with my creation and design and my own experiences and processes. Let me tell you how that happened. I don't do art in my full time life. I have a busy and demanding career and job, and I need to be plugged into that. In my downtime, I create and ideate. I do art on a very part time basis. I used to move through things so fast without as much thought and with much more instinct or driven by the urge to use color or play. The thing is, that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I got to get all of that energy out of me and shake it off and put it into other places, like on the canvas. And that was, something I can say now that there wasn't always a plan. There wasn't always intentionality in the storytelling of my pieces. That wasn't always there. And that's okay for where I was 7 months ago. So, anyway, I have a studio stocked with many things. And the way my full time career is set up, there's time when I have more time to be in the studio several times a week. And then there's time I cannot get to my studio for weeks on end. So where are my full-time job holders and part-time artists at? If you're here, let me know. I know I can't be the only one, and I don't profess to know it all. But what I know is my process and my experience, and that is partially why I'm making this YouTube diary to be able to chronicle where I am in this experience and to look back at it fondly one day. Like I said, process for me now is about slowing down and leaning into the beauty of creating when I can, when I want to, when it feels right. I'm no longer in a scarcity mindset about creating. I'm no longer beating myself up just about taking the expense of a studio and not having reasons to justify using it some days. It's okay if I don't go every day. It's the perfect space for me to make and create and think, and sometimes I'll just sit and look at what I've created. Just examine what I've done and think about where it is all going next. I used to fight against time to get to the end of a painting, and now it's joy to get there because it signifies the journey that I've taken with each painting and what we've gone through, but also where I sit or stand with things. Was I pleased with myself? Am I giving myself grace in this experience? Is the art piece wanting me to say more? And that can only be identified and carried out later. Does this happen to you also? Have you seen the memes where people joke about revenge time since their jobs take up so much of their waking hours that they stay up late and get into hobbies in an effort to reclaim their time? Well, that's partially where I was. Instead of relishing the unique, specific opportunities that my job, my life, my career afforded me. Everyone's journey to their artistry is different, and we all approach things differently. But I can honestly say what's changed for me is a few things. And hey, real quick, let me know if this resonates with you. Get down in my comments and say the things. Let me know if this tracks for you. But, as this is my diary of sorts, I can only talk about what I'm experiencing. Anyway, I allowed myself to slow down and remove content making for the sense of content making. On my TikTok, there's so much internalized pressure to create. and I no longer subscribe to that notion unless it's an authentic moment that I want to share. If you're on TikTok, you should follow me, by the way. You know a lot about the artist versus artist creator conversation. I can come back and make another process video because I feel like this is getting long, and that's not my intention. And there's so much more I have to say. But anyway, please let me know if you're interested in that. Do you want that? Just type yes in the comments. Let me know. Um, I want to know more about your process in the comments. Also, I can say that I have an expanded sense of my relationship to time and my artistry, and I'm not working on some super time clock for a funder or someone expecting a product in a specific time frame. I'm working on my time and I'm fitting it into my life. I am not hyper focused like I was, which was fun, but not at all sustainable. Now I am feeling the good and the joy and the happy vibes. The time to allow myself to make a decision in the studio one day and go back to it when I'm ready to see it again and ready to recontribute to it. I know that's a very privileged position, and I sit in that. All in all, this is a much better system for my nervous system. But now I'm getting mad long in the tooth here with my thoughts. I'll be back with more on process. I have so much to say. So next time you're in your studio and you feel like you've got to hurry up, maybe sit for a minute and think about taking a beat. In my experience, that's where the learning lives for me, and that's what I am trying to remember now anyway. But again, this is just my experience, and I wanted to share. Thanks for listening.